Hello, and welcome back to the channel. As most of you know, I'm Topher. And for those of you who don't know and just randomly decided to click on a video, welcome to the channel. I'm Topher. Thank you for stopping by. So we're here to do a reaction, and we're diving back into Miracle of Teddy Bear. We're diving into episode 4. It's been probably about a month, if not a little bit longer, since I dove into episode 3. March, I ended up taking a little bit of a break just from recording in general for a few weeks, so that kind of put things behind schedule. But now I'm making up for lost time, getting back into the swing of things, and we're diving back into this series. Last time we saw where Tofu was learning the truth about oh boy's daddy, and how his mama was confused, because I was in here confused too, because we were seeing how she was imagining this man here, but we've been led to the impression that he's been dead and deceased. But then we're seeing this other guy over here who is Uncle Man, who looks exactly like him, and it's like, okay, are they brothers? Is there another one? Is she just confused? Maybe they weren't together. We found out that twins. But the relationship was getting even more salacious and spicy, and we were just about to get some backstory. So we're gonna dive in and just see where the things go. I have no doubt that it'll probably be an emotional episode, because every episode so far has been an emotional episode at some point during the episode. The series knows how to just like drain every emotion from you. So I hope you guys have plenty to drink. Keep your fluid levels up, because they're going to try and make you cry, make you feel all kinds of things. Grab a snack if you need to, and we are just going to dive in as soon as I show you guys what I'm seeing. There we go.
แล้วคนไหนคือพ่อวินัทกันแน่ฮะ
มันเป็นใครวะถึงมาเสือกเรื่องในบ้านกูก่อนที่มึงจะโทษคนนั้นคนนี้อะนะมึงถามตัวเองก่อนไหมว่าใครกันแน่ที่ทำให้คุณ
Yeah, before we start, I think episode 2 I introduced you guys to Sully, and I mentioned that he was one of the only 4 men who ever shared my bed. So you guys already met my stuffed animal Sully, because I figured since this series is all about stuffed animals, I might as well bring mine too. So now we got my 2 other babies, my penguin twins, Peter and Parker. And maybe next episode, if I remember to, you guys can meet Jack. But Peter and Parker will just be off to the side here, watching along with us. And yeah. Alright, anyway, back. I'm just going to pause it for a second, because I want to say this in case I forget it by the time we get to the end of the episode. I love the emotional level of that scene, because I feel like throughout the entire series, and yes, we've only seen 3 episodes, but I feel like so far all we've seen from Nut is just high octane emotion. Whether he's been angry, sad, whatever, it's all been high octane. He's been feeling on 10, like an emotional level of 10 the entire time. And at times I'm like, baby, calm down, breathe. So I liked the level of this, because we never really crawled above like a 3 or 4 as far as like intensity goes. But since he didn't just jump to this super intense feeling, he allowed himself to actually feel his emotions. Like, he's not just feeling one blind rage or sadness or yelling or screaming, crying, whatever it is. Like, talked, mentally processed what he's saying, mentally processed what Tofu's saying, and actual conversation is happening, and just being able to analyze and take in everything that's happening in the situation right now with him and his mom and Tofu, and being able to discern, okay, I hurt you, I hurt my mom's doing, why am I always so angry? Because I feel like he might know why he's always so upset, because he lives this day to day, but he's not had this conversation with anybody. He's obviously not been able to have that conversation with his mom, otherwise, you know, we probably would have seen that at some point already, and he wouldn't like, I feel like his way of trying to have that conversation with his mom is to not have a conversation and just try and force her to conform to what he wants her to think and see and blah, 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 versus like, hey, this is actually what's happening. And like his friend's parents were saying, hey, you got to give her time, because some scars, some emotional scars are hard for some people to face. Some people can just wake up in the morning and be like, you know what, fine, cool, I'm a badass bitch, roll out, let water off a duck's back, let me go. But there are other people who are like, hey, it is not as easy for them. It doesn't mean that they are less of a person or a weaker person. They just don't have that emotional fortitude in them to handle some of these heavy emotional scars. So you got to give mommy some time. So I loved how that scene just progressed, and how it was the first time we saw Nut really embracing his emotions without letting them overwhelm him, without him getting carried away and eaten up and swallowed by these emotions. He just got to talk. He got to breathe. And then Tofu did what I was hoping he would do, and just hugged him. Because sometimes there aren't the right word to say. Sometimes there are the magic words that somebody can say and it'll just make everything better. But sometimes there aren't really the right words to say. And sometimes all you really can do for someone is be there for them and let them know that you're going to be there for them. Hold them, hug them, hold their hand. Just being in their presence, saying, hey, I'm here to support you. I got your back no matter what. I don't know how to make you feel better right now, but I'm here for you, whatever you need. Sometimes that is the best and only thing that you can do. So Tofu was doing that. Hey, I'm here for you, blah, blah, blah. And you notice throughout that whole time, as soon, once he turned his back and, he started crying because he didn't want Tofu to see, Tofu gave him the hug from behind. He never said a single word. That entire time Tofu was sitting there hugging him, he never said a single word. He sat there, he cried, he felt his emotions, he listened to the words that were being said to him, and he just let his emotions out. He just sat there in his emotions, and it was beautiful, because I don't feel like he's had that sort of cathartic release in the series thus far. Everything has just been such a high octane fight. So it was very nice to see that side and see us finally making some kind of progress. Granted, we still have like 12 episodes left to go, so I don't think that we've magically solved all of our problems here, but it was nice to see some kind of progress happening, and it's just nice. Okay, back to this. Nipples. Oh, Lord. Like I said, one thing about this series, because the episodes are so long, there's so much that happens. So much happens in these episodes, Lord. So it makes it hard for me to recap and remember everything, which is why I paused earlier. So whatever I said earlier when I paused it after like that first scene of hugging and crying and whatnot, all that still stands. I'll just recap. I thought it was a very well done scene, and I appreciated the emotional, the lack of emotional intensity on the characters' parts, and I feel like it was just a very beautifully done moment. And then for a while there, after that moment, it was a lot of happy, light moments, which were a nice reprieve from some of these heavier things that we keep getting. But they gave me like the reverse of, emotional sandwich. Rather than give me like something nice and good, heavy, nice and good, they sandwiched heavy, nice, fun, light, whatever, heavy. So it's like, but still, I still enjoy. So yeah, we had a lot of nice, light moments there. The whole washing the dog. Well, first them waking up and just like thinking about each other first thing in the morning, smiling, cheesing, great time. Them washing the dog. So many moments of them just being spatially close to one another, within inches of each other's faces, staring at each other, and just giving me these, typical romantic moments, without it actually leading anywhere. Because again, it's still early in the season, and I don't expect them to just like hop into bed, start making out yet. I'm not expecting that to be the case. But I do like the connections that they're making, and even if I weren't trying to romantically link them, if I weren't trying to ship them together, I still like the connections their characters are making, and I like that Tofu is finally like being able to reach Nut, and Nut is letting himself feel his emotions and finding some sense of comfort enough in Tofu to be able to talk to him instead of just bottling everything up. So I like that these connections are being made, even if they weren't leading anywhere romantic. I'm just happy that these connections are being made. We had coworker girl come over and start freaking out because they looked like they were in some sort of salacious position with that water hose and all the floor and all this, that, the other. And then she took Tofu outside. She's like, hey, I need to talk to you. Woman to former teddy bear. Do you like nut? I need to know. And like I said there, I appreciate her straightforwardness, because heaven knows there are so many of these series that we've seen where that side character girl who has a crush and stands absolutely no chance whatsoever gets it in her head. She sees the other person as competition. She's like, okay, I'm going to come up with some harebrained scheme, come up with some plan, and I'm going to just try and win this guy over and try to discredit this other guy, or try to get this guy to give up, or blah blah, like just some random ass schemes. And it's like, girl, just stop. So I'm glad that she's just like, you know what, hey, do you like him? Because I need to know. And if you don't like him, can you get him to like me? Very straightforward. Obviously, that's not how emotions work. You can't just get somebody to like you. But I like that she didn't try and come up with some sort of plan or scheme to get Tofu out of the picture so she can have Nut alter herself. She just went straight to Tofu and like, hey, what's the deal? I need to know. Because if y'all are a thing, then I got to focus my attention elsewhere to heal my heart. But if you're not a thing, can you make him and I a thing? I appreciate straightforwardness. And then there was some nice little bonding stuff. I like that she was telling Tofu, like teaching Tofu, hey, this is what being in a relationship is. This is what love is. This is what, feeling romantic feelings are. And, trying to describe it. Meanwhile, Nut's over there eavesdropping, but he's also like receiving the information that's supposed to be going to Tofu, but Nut obviously understands what these feelings mean, and it's like having this other person making him realize, oh, that's what I've actually been feeling this morning since I woke up. Those are feelings I'm feeling. Oh, do I like this Tofu guy? Oh, nice. And then, Tofu's like, no, I don't think I like him like that. I don't think I'm like, no, don't say that. He's listening now. You ruined my ship. Damn it, Tofu. And then we had Song come to the place to get like the test shots done, all the pictures. Again, more fun little romantic comedy moments with him and other friend whose name I can't remember, but I love his parents. His parents are everything. And then Song's like, okay, I'm gonna borrow your partner. At first I thought he was talking about the guy that I'm shipping him with. Horrible glasses. I was like, okay, I bet you will borrow him for some training. But then, no, it made more sense. He's like, okay, I'm going to go get Tofu. Because, obviously, Tofu looks just like Nung. And I was nervous. I was leery about the plan to bring Tofu around so Daddy can see him, because I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm not a mental health professional. I have no training in psychology or anything like that, so I can't speak from any kind of experience, but I just wasn't sure if exposing Daddy to this person who looks just like his dead son was going to be a helpful thing or a harmful thing in the long run. Because what I was hoping was not going to happen is Daddy would see this and like, okay, he's back. I've got my son back, even though we know that's not his son. But like start channeling all of these feelings and emotions into this relationship with this kid who looks like his son and using him as like a surrogate and as a replacement son. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want anything like that to happen. At the very best, I was hoping that it was going to be just like a, Daddy hugged him and it was going to be kind of a cathartic, because we heard him, Daddy, say, I never thought that I would ever get to hug him again, this, that, the other. So Daddy never really got a chance to say a goodbye. It's not like, you knew he was lying on his deathbed and you knew he was going to die sometime soon, so you got a chance to see all that kind of stuff. It just happened. It happened. So Daddy never got to say goodbye. And again, I'm not a parent. I've never been a parent, so I don't know the the grief that comes with losing a child. I have friends who have lost children, some who've been, young toddler age children, and some friends who are, older than I am, who have lost their fully grown adult children. And some days are easier than others, but it's not something that you just forget. You don't just move on from that. And if how Daddy was handling it, yes, it's been 10 years, but it feels very real to things I've seen in my everyday life with some of my friends who have lost their children. Like, yes, some days you might be hanging out and it's not a topic of conversation, and we're happy, we're grooving, blah blah blah, and other days they are a total wreck. Something might have just triggered some memory of them and they're just beside themselves. Other days they can think about their child and be happy, yes, still miss them, but be in a happier mood. Like, it's highs and lows. There's no just like band-aid switch that you flip and okay, we're over this and we're good forever. Like, it's a different kind of loss. It's a different kind of grief that I hope to never have to face in my own personal life. But yeah, Dad's emotions, it just feels very real. There's a lot of grief in the show. The show is heavily centered around grief in different ways that we're dealing with it. Obviously losing her husband, but the deeper we get into the series and the more we flash back and the more we fill out some of her background relationship with Sen, because it's interesting that we discovered last episode there were twins and Sen wasn't her husband. Sib was her husband. So it's like, okay, but she keeps calling Sen. Every time she's got a flashback or she's, hallucinating husbands here, blah, blah, honey, it's always Sen, even though, yes, they're twins, they look identical, but it's always Sen. She's calling out for Sen. So why is she married to Sib if in her headspace she keeps going back to this happy place and calling for Sen? So I don't know necessarily that the grief of losing her husband, there's so much. It's so multifaceted. So it's like, I don't know if her losing Sib is what triggered all of this to happen. Like, not saying that she didn't love Sib. Maybe she did, but obviously there's a part of her heart that has always been with Sen. And as we saw in the flashback when she gave back the ring, she wasn't giving it back necessarily because she wasn't in love with him or that she didn't want to be with him. It seemed more like not a marriage of convenience, but the fact that Sen wasn't there a lot and Sib was. Sib was there to take care of her, and I'm sure Sib loved her, and there might have been a part of her that loved him back or cared for him. She definitely cared for him, but her heart was always with Sen. But yeah, it felt more like a marriage of, I don't want to say convenience, but Sen wasn't there. Sib was there to take care in her time of need, whether it was with her grandmother or this, that, the other. Sib was there. So made the promise of grandma, he'll take care of her. We're getting married tomorrow. Again, I feel like that's a conversation that Sen deserved a little bit more say in. Not that you can control somebody and say, hey, you can't marry him. But I feel like, hey, maybe before you end our engagement and go marry my twin brother, maybe we can talk a little bit more. Maybe we can come to some kind of understanding. Maybe we can clear up this little misunderstanding we have here. Maybe I'll get a different job. I feel like just more conversation could have happened, should have happened. But we can't change the past. But yeah, that being said, she never stopped loving him. She always loved him, and clearly he loves her. They've always loved each other, and it's not been the right time. It's just not been right for them, unfortunately, because sometimes love is not always enough. I say it all the time when reacting to these series. But yeah, they've loved each other, so I don't know how much she actually loved her husband, and if his death was actually this big mournful situation for her, because the flashbacks I'm getting of Sib, he's not they're not painting him out to be this really great looking guy. I mean, like, physically he looks amazing. How you doing? But like, he's not. Like, at first, when we were introduced to the idea that they were twins last episode, it's like, okay, we saw them both there taking care or helping out with her and her grandmother. Okay, they both care about her. They're both nice guys. It's like, okay, cool. She chose one brother over the other, blah, 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 blah. But the deeper we're getting into this, it's like, okay, it's almost seemed like they were kind of maybe not fighting over her, but you know, he was always there to take care of her. And yes, I'm sure he caught feelings at that point, was always being there taking care of her. But she was engaged to your brother. And I know the heart wants what it wants, but like, she's engaged to your brother. So maybe before embarking upon a relationship to marry her, maybe we have a conversation with your brother. Or like, I just feel like we're painting out to be like, okay, he just kind of swooped in and took Sen's woman. Like, he just kind of swooped in like, okay, I'm gonna pick up these pieces, all right, now she's mine. And then we're seeing these other flashbacks, like when Sen brought the fruit and he flipped out and he's like throwing stuff and yelling and this, that, the other. I'm like, dude. But obviously I feel like there's more to that situation than we've seen yet. I want to believe, at least, that Sid is not just this irrational hothead who's just flying off the handle, blah blah. I want to imagine that there's something that happened that caused this rift between Sen and Sid, besides just the fact that, hey, I stole your fiance and now she's my wife. But if that were the case, I feel like Sen would be the one who should be upset and angry, blah 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 blah. So there's still so many things that we have left to uncover as far as the situation goes. But yeah, we're not painting Sib out to be amazing. And even not when he was talking with Sen, I'm kind of hopping all over the place this episode, but even not when he was talking with him, it's like, you know, if you had married my mom, she'd have someone to take care of her. And, you know, it would have been nice to have someone who was nice and loved us, blah blah blah. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, because the whole time, this entire time, anytime Na has brought up the fact that Nut's dad is still here and she still sees him, Nut flies off the handle. He's like, he's not here, he's dead, blah 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 blah, screaming blah blah blah, and like so upset. So I'm sitting here thinking like, man, he really misses his dad. He is so super protective over his dad's memory, and it hurts him that his mom keeps bringing him up like he's alive, blah blah blah, when he's gone. But then this episode, it doesn't sound to me like his dad was all that great a guy. Like, we actually enjoyed having him around and having him as a dad. Like, so now I've got more questions. There's so many more layers to uncover, so much more character development and psychology to dive into with these characters. And it's just like, oh my goodness, it's exciting, it's daunting. There's but I love that word. Hell, we've got so much time in these series, so you might as well fill it with quality stuff. So I would hate it if we were just like lofting around and nothing was happening with all this time. So I'm glad that they're making use of the time. You're like, okay, we're gonna develop the fuck out of these characters. We're gonna give them all kinds of emotional, and it's not, there's no like good and bad characters. Like, everyone is just human and flawed. Even Jan, who like at first she was coming off in the earlier episodes as like just this sort of antagonistic gossip lady next door who blah blah blah, and like over the last few episodes we've developed her into this hurting woman. Everybody in this series is hurting in some way, shape, or form. Some are dealing with grief of losing someone they loved. Some are dealing with hurt and pain with the fact that the person that they've spent all this time invested in, and I assume she loved him at some point, does not love does not love them back, and this entire relationship pretty much has just been a lie. And like, there's so many heavy things happening, so many heavy emotions, and we're not even focused on the fact that we got this sentient teddy bear who's just floating around. Like, everybody else got all this shit going on, and we're just like, damn, it is so heavy. Oh my goodness. And then we got Song out here talking about, hey, Officer Daddy, why don't you go investigate this man who looks just... I'm like, girl, please don't start causing any more trouble, please. Please don't cause any more trouble. But you know, that we've already thrown that shoe up in the air, so we'll see where those pieces land. Lord, because like, what's he gonna find? He's not gonna find anything. Like, he was a teddy bear. He don't know that he necessarily has fingerprints or dental records or anything like that. Like, you're not gonna find nothing. Oh Lord, watch it. They're gonna end up finding something. Oh Lord, Jesus, it's gonna be an emotional roller coaster. I ain't got time for it, y'all. What else? Is there anything else? I think that's the majority of the things. I still question why Mama didn't just change that light bulb when she saw it went out. Why did she wait 7.5 hours until it's a dead of night to climb up on this ladder? I don't fucking know. But you know, whatever. Plot convenience, I guess. Whatever, we'll leave it alone. I still don't know if there is some connection between the nephew that is in the hospital in the coma and whatever witchcraft magic stardust brought Tofu to life. Because again, we had that one point, I think like last episode, a couple episodes ago, when Tofu was like staring at the laundry or something, and he passed out. He passed out for some reason, and then coma boys just start to like twitch or wake up for like a few seconds, and then like back into the coma. So it's like, I don't know what the connection is there. I don't know. But this video is already almost 2 hours long, so I'm gonna stop talking. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on notifications to be notified when all my shenanigans get posted. If there's anything else you'd like me to react to, be sure to leave it down in the comments. I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you're more than welcome to join us over on Patreon. Don't have to, but you're more than welcome to if you want to. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Love ya. Mwah.
And before you guys go, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone supporting me over on Patreon. This channel would not be what it is today without your continued support, and I can't begin to thank you guys enough for all you've done for me. If you'd like to join us over on Patreon, the link is down in the description. I'll see you guys in my next video. Love ya!